What is the sense that you get in terms of passenger traffic? I was just looking at a report from ICRA, and they believe that passenger growth is likely to come down to between 13 and 15% versus about 22% last year. What's your own sense? And also, as far as yields are concerned, how much pressure do you anticipate to be there as far as yields?
Well, firstly, the underlying demand is extremely strong. I mean, we put a flight in there. Within a few days, the flight fills up. The underlying demand is certainly there. Obviously, that underlying demand is there at a certain price. If you take up the price and it becomes too high, then obviously there is an impact on the demand. So the problem really today is the capacity. Capacity in the sense that airport capacity at Delhi and Mumbai is extremely challenged. It's run out. And while we are talking of small towns, and of course a lot of the growth is going to happen in small towns, in the first instance, the small towns need to be connected to the larger towns. So you need to connect small airports with the Delhis and the Mumbais. And because the capacity there is limited, airlines are not being able to put too many flights into these stations. And therefore there is a bit of drop in passenger growth. So, but as you start to create capacity, as more capacity comes on stream with RCS and other steps that the government is taking, I think that underlying demand will remain strong. And if you are not able to put as many flights as you might want to, you will see actually that the yields will go up. But
do you believe that, given the situation where we're seeing significant amount of aggressive discounting, that is going to continue?
The aggressive discounting really was a consequence of, in part at least, of demonetization. So what happened was that with demonetization, demand came down. Demand especially came down for international travel. Anything which was discretionary, people said, look, we'll put it, postpone it. And because of that, there was a pressure on yields. But that situation appears to be improving.
Okay. Let me then talk to you about the road ahead. And one of the big triggers that one is awaiting more clarity from the government on is whether we are actually going to see the entry of Qatar and whether it's going to be a 100% foreign-owned airline. Of course, the government has made it clear that 49% will continue to be ownership of a foreign carrier, and the balance is open to foreign investors, FPIs, etc. I know that the FIA has been vociferously voicing its opposition to this. How do you see this impacting the landscape? It seems like it's only a matter of time that they will announce their India plans.
Well, we have made our opposition to this known on the grounds that 100% FDI in aviation is not something that is the practice anywhere in the world. Not the most liberal economies, not the United States, not Europe, not Australia, Japan. I mean, there is no country in the world which has 100% FDI in aviation. So we believe that what is being done in India, perhaps in that sense, is wrong. There is a principle of reciprocity that needs to be followed as well. If we allow countries to set up airlines in our country, then they should allow us to set up airlines in their country. I mean, for the most part, these countries don't even allow us to set up marketing offices, leave alone airlines. What this also does is that it creates a completely non-level playing field, because you can then potentially allow foreign carriers which are state-controlled from different parts of the world to come and set up shop here. This is already a hyper-competitive market with fares trending lower because of the intense amount of competition. So what will happen is an airline comes into this country, it will just use their state money to come and bleed all the airlines in this country, including the national carrier Air India.
So government will end up putting
government will end up putting even more money into Air India. So there are issues. We have raised this to the government, and we are confident that the government will take an appropriate decision.
Okay. So far, the government seems to say that, look, this is our policy, and Qatar is welcome to operate, and so is anybody else. So, how big a threat is this? I mean, you talked about this being a threat for Air India, but how big a threat is this for somebody like you and your international plans?
Well, firstly, Indian carriers are amongst the most efficient carriers in the world. They are amongst the lowest cost. They have amongst the highest levels of consumer satisfaction. So it's it's not that an airline can come from outside and create a huge challenge for carriers in India, because the Indian carriers themselves are pretty strong. But there are concerns. I mean, what happens to bilaterals? Will you also give bilaterals to a new carrier now? Will they then have bilaterals from their side and from our side as well, and thereby create monopolies on certain routes? So these are issues which are significant, and I think the government will formulate some rules which will ensure that there is a level playing field.
Since we're talking about representations to the government, I know that one of the other areas is the high costs when it comes to airport infrastructure, not just DIAL and the Bombay airport, but even the non-metro airports, non-major airports that are controlled by the Airports Authority of India, where navigation charges, parking charges, landing charges have all seen an increase of between 5 and 10% in the past year, and a 5% increase is factored in on a yearly basis. How significant of a challenge is this for you?
Well, in general, of course, we need to try and reduce cost of aviation. But, you know, to say that a 10% increase by airport authority is unfair would probably be wrong. Because they had not really...
Exactly. And
they had not increased these charges for the longest time. And therefore, to say that, you know, an increase there... But we need to look at the overall cost. And we need to all work together to bring down that overall cost. Because if you can do that, this is a very, very price-sensitive country. And the moment you bring down cost, because there is such amount of competition in the industry, fares come down immediately. And as fares come down, you can see that bump in growth. So we feel that, you know, this is something that we need to look at in terms of, you know, benchmarking these costs with what is happening across the world. And if you can find a structure in which you can get costs down to international levels, you will see massive growth of aviation in India.
You know, one of the big bets for Indian companies really to offset costs is also what we can expect in terms of ancillary revenues. You've seen an increase from what, about 6% to about 13-odd%. What is the outlook there, and how much more do you expect that to grow?
Needs to go up. I mean, today we are close to 15%. You know, Ryanair has ancillary revenue which is about 30% of their revenue. So
how long will it take you to get there?
Well, we'll try and do it in the shortest time possible, but certainly the objective is to increase that 15% to 20% in the shortest possible period of time.
Over the next financial year, how much do you believe 13 can move to?
See, I never want to give guidance on these issues, as you know, but we will certainly push this to closer to 20%.
Okay. Speaking of new plans, there's been a lot of talk about your retail plans as well. Why have you chosen to go down the retail route, and what is the aspiration there?
Well, it's not really a retail foray. It is more of an ancillary revenue play for us. So, you know, there are certain travel products that we were selling on board, that we plan to sell on board, and many airlines sell products on board. And what we've done is we've just decided to take these products and also sell them online. So we are just using different distribution channels for the same products that we were planning to sell on board, and we believe that this will contribute to ancillary revenue.
So is it largely going to be online, or are we also going to see brick and mortar stores?
No, there aren't going to be, at this moment, there are no brick and mortar stores. It's primarily online, and these are very, very low investment projects for SpiceJet. We are not putting large amounts of cash behind these projects, and we expect to get very, very decent return.
Okay, and by when do we expect this to take off?
It should happen in the next 30 days.
Oh, in the next 30 days is when we will see this new distribution line going the e-commerce route for SpiceJet kick off. You know, since we're talking about the turnaround story, and it has been a remarkable one, you know, that you've been able to script. There's things with the issues related to the Marins in terms of arbitration, etc. Can you give us an update of where things currently stand?
Well, the matter is before the arbitrators, and they have to take a call.
When do you expect a closure on this front?
I think under the new Arbitration Act, I think arbitrators are required to complete the proceedings within 1 year. So we think that that's what will happen.
And so how much, where are we in the process at this point in time?
Well, at this time, I think we are at a preliminary stage, but it should all conclude by next summer.
Does 2017 feel a lot better than 2016 for you?
It's starting to feel better. It started off with demonetisation having an impact on and fuel prices going up. At this time, we are in a situation where fuel prices are actually trending down, and demand is picking up. So it's starting to feel better.
Starting to feel better. Always a pleasure speaking with you. We wish you the very best of luck, Mr. Singh. Thanks very much for once again joining us on CNBC TV 18 and sharing the SpiceJet flight path with us.
Thank you so much.
Well, with that, it is time for us to wrap up this CNBC TV 18 special from all of us here. Goodbye and many thanks for watching.